Sarah from Roots here, and I'm here to talk about trout lily with you. Trout lily, dogtooth violet, Erythronium americanum. This is a spring ephemeral that loves moist woods. So spring ephemeral, it's this early season plant that's going to capture as much energy as it can before the trees leaf out. So it's going to have access to all the sunlight for a very short period of time. I want to talk about it because it's a beautiful plant, it's a somewhat common plant, and it has edible characteristics that people are familiar with. But there are some things about it. And on a broader scale, I want to say that it's important to us to teach plants that are relatively common and abundant, things that you can gather, the leaves that are going to come back regularly, and here we're not doing that. I'm talking about the roots of this plant. There's not too much to see right now. What we're looking at are just the leaves that are still tightly curled that have yet to really unfurl and mature. This is the time that you want to know them. This is a plant a lot of you are familiar with. It's like 4 to 10 inches. It has these beautiful yellow petaled flowers. It's a lily family member. So what we see are these 3 backward pointing petals and these 3 backward pointing sepals. And we are beginning to see the leaves. They have this signature mottling on the front edge, this sort of purplish brown on top of this green. They're smooth edged, they're shiny, they have a coolness to the touch, and they're just emerging. So some people talk about eating the leaves, and it's been talked about how some people don't feel all that great. There's a little gastrointestinal upset with eating the leaves. I don't like them. I almost have a hard time believing people when they say they do. So not to yuck anybody's yum, as is the expression, but the leaves are not really what I'm interested in. What I am interested in, and just as like a casual, nothing that I'm trying to like store for the year, are the corms. And their corms are their root storage organs down below that are could be 4 to 8 inches deep. And so you follow that leaf, and that becomes this like the stem moves down into the ground, this long, slender filament of sorts, and then you see this corm. Before it exerts a lot of energy, it has a sweetness to it, and then through the season, and then after the plant dies off, it will become a starchier root structure. So in general, with spring gathering, this is the time to maybe not learn plants for the first year, but this is the time where you start to really understand your plants and learn your plants, and you see them in their less distinct phases. So again, we're looking for trout lily in the beginning of spring, where they're still tightly curled and just emerging from the ground. So I'm going to take a moment, this root digger, and I'm going to dig in and excavate some of the earth and see if we can get some really great examples of what these corms look like. Ooh, this soil is sandy. So here we have the corms, and they are covered in sort of like a brown papery sheath, and you can eat these raw or you can eat these cooked in a stir fry. This was really pretty easy to excavate them because the ground is so sandy right here that they came up with ease. Oftentimes these are so delicate that they'll break off. So again, I really want to caution about harvesting plants when you're harvesting the roots, because you're removing the whole plant in its entirety. And so these are the plants that are really susceptible to over-harvesting. And that it would be irresponsible not to say such things. Just talking about their reproduction, it's kind of cool. These are plants that form colonies, and so all of these trout lilies here can be a colony unto themselves. And the oldest ones I saw were dated at 300 years. Amazing. So they can, maybe be as old as the trees that they're cohabitating with. So partially they reproduce by sending out these runners horizontally. 10 inches away, and then up will emerge another plant. Also, they have these seeds. This is our cat. They also have seeds that are attractive to ants, and ants will gather them up and eat the fleshy appendages and then bury them where they live, kind of creating this really ideal seed bed to produce more. But where we are right now, there's a abundance of them. So gathering a couple does not feel irresponsible to me. You want to be aware of what corms you are harvesting, with the risk of maybe being in the same sort of environment as Jack in the Pulpit. So that is not one you want to bite into. But trout lilies are wonderful. And it's just good to be familiar with them at large, although I'm going to focus a lot more of my harvesting efforts on plants that have a little bit more oomph and are a little bit more protected as far as their reproduction. But really good to know. Beautiful plant. Here we are in Vermont.